fellow seekers, welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody had a good fall equinox. Seems like we went from summer to fall in one day here, but I can finally wear my nice sweaters and get out the crock pot. I love crock pot season. You may remember me, or this may be your first time on the channel, but welcome back. My name is Amanda Artemis Forrester. I am a rune reader, diviner, and polytheist mystic. I don't know if you're actually going to be able to hear it, but there's actually a little bit of thunder going on right now because it is raining as I film this. So hopefully that doesn't overshadow the video. But as I said before, I'm going to take advantage of the move and talk a little bit about house cleansings, a little bit about household cultus, but probably more about on the cleansing side. Because house cultus and household gods is its whole other thing, and I have to keep these videos to about 30 minutes right now, mostly because I'm filming on my phone. So, let's see where to start. I do have notes, so you might see me referring to that. So I have had somewhat of a relationship with the house spirit of my last place. I had only been there this time for a year, but I had lived at that house several times before. It was a friend's place, and whenever something didn't work out, I had ended up there several times before, so it was a familiar place. And that house sold to a different owner, so moving this time was kind of bittersweet because I had to say goodbye to that house spirit, because that house had nurtured me and supported me when things had not worked out, and I actually did a ritual to say goodbye to that spirit, and that I hope the new owners take good care of it. One of the things that I do as worship is I have this little bowl on my windowsill in my kitchen, and I prefer to make coffee with beans instead of ground, and I have a hand crank, and when I grind it, it helps wake me up in the morning, and it's a mindfulness thing that gets me in the moment. And I put a coffee bean in there for the house spirit. And I also, on my altar to the household gods, I had a garlic clove for protection. And I didn't think I should take the old one to the new house. So I buried the coffee beans and the garlic clove in the backyard to say goodbye to the old house. And if I seem like I'm getting a little emotional, I hope you don't think that's silly, but I am an animist, and we should really get past this idea that talking about objects as if they're alive is silly, because that is a very Western idea, and they are alive, and there are things that are inspirited, and we should treat them as they're inspirited. And houses especially are very inspirited. They nurture and support us and help keep our families safe and happy, ideally happy, but definitely sheltered. I mean, the storm going on right now even supports this. It's actually good timing, as long as it doesn't drown out what I'm talking about. The storm actually supports this. This house is taking the brunt of the storm for me, so that me and my dogs and my roommate and my roommate's cats can be all safe and warm and protected. You know, so that's something we should thank our houses for. That's something that we should thank our household spirits for. And that attitude of gratitude is something that we have gotten away from in our society. So you might notice that I wear rings every day, and right before the move, I actually changed. This is a smoky quartz that I wear for grounding and protection. And I used to wear an opalite, which I kind of refer to it as a wedding ring to the gods. I'm not a god spouse. That's an entirely different thing. But it's the only phrase I could come up with that honored the seriousness of my commitment to my religion. So it was basically something that would show every morning when I do my prayers. One of the lines is, I dedicate myself this day to the holy powers, and when I say that, I put this ring on. Well, I used to have an opalite one, and now I have a sapphire one. Well, what happened was I lost that ring for several weeks, and it was very upsetting to me because it's a very sacred thing to me. And there were a bunch of other signs, and it was right as we were getting ready to move, and so I decided that what I was going to do was offer it to the house spirit. And when I made that decision, the ring showed back up. So that ring is buried in the backyard of my old house, along with the coffee beans and the garlic clove. And so that was one of the things that I did to honor on my very last day there. Actually, the night before. The night before we got the U-Haul and moved. So that was, I'm getting emotional. I know some people are going to think it's silly, but it's really not. It's really not. Alright, so the first thing for cleansing you probably all know about is smudging. You might call it saging, but there are other things to smudge with besides sage. So most people use an abalone cell, and an abalone cell is perfectly fine. It's a Native American tradition. I actually like cast iron. It's a little more witchy, I guess. I guess I haven't actually made that decision. It's just I never had an abalone shell, and I had various little cast iron things, but that's what I have. So before I moved in, I actually walked through the whole house with sage very slowly. And I'm sure some of you already know what this is. And you may not know this, but you're supposed to have the window cracked. This one's closed, but that one's open. The one above the kitchen sink is open, so we're fine. You're supposed to have the window cracked because otherwise the bad energy doesn't have anywhere to go. Because the sage expels it. Now, if you're saging yourself instead of the house, an area, you want to get it over like you're taking a bath in it. See? Thor Sush. I said the B word. B-A-T-H. Though he doesn't like that. I walked through every room of the house and I said, I bless this house in the name of the gods of Olympus and Asgard in Egypt. I actually don't worship very many Egyptian gods anymore. It's almost all Olympus and Asgard, but Isis and Anubis still pop up every once in a while, so I thought I should mention them. It just seemed appropriate. And I also honored the house spirit here, and I said that I look forward to getting to know him or her. I actually don't know if the house spirit is gendered. The Lares and the Peanuts from Rome were gendered, but I don't always see the house spirits as gendered. So I usually just refer to them as they. They just tend to have but some of them do. They do tend to have different feelings. And you just focus just get into that meditative mindset. For me, the scent does it right away. It might just be because I've been doing this for so long, but the scent of the sage just, all the worries just drop away. It just does it. But for some people who are new to this, it might take a little while, and that's fine. Don't get into that worry headspace where you're like, oh my god. You will get used to it. It's fine. There's no wrong way to do this. You're not going to walk backwards and accidentally summon a demon. Okay? It doesn't work like that. I do have some other smudge things here that I've got to show you. This is called Palo Santo. It's got more of a spicy, sweet smell. This is holy wood from South America. I don't use this as often as I use the sage, but I do really like it. But I use sage more often. I'm actually going to start growing my own sage soon. And that's probably another reason why I'm not going to use the Palo Santo as much, because I would like, as I'm getting into herb crafting and I'm working with herb herb and plant spirits, I would really like to grow my own. And Mugwort is the other one that I use. And Mugwort is in the same genus as sage. These are both the same genus. They're both from the Artemisia family. That's my middle name. It means literally belonging to Artemis. But this white sage is the North American version, and Mugwort comes from Northern Europe. Now, ethnobotanists are confused about how people on opposite sides of the planet who had no contact with each other, by the way, were using the same plant for pretty much the same reason, for cleansing. That's because the plant told us. That is because the plant shamanically told our ancestors what it's for. So, there's that. Mugwort does have a little bit more of a psychic connotation than white sage. It still has the clearing, it still has the protection, it still gets rid of bad energy, but it also opens up the psychic eye. And as one of Odin's sacred herbs, one of the 9 sacred herbs mentioned in the Merseburg charm, it's the one that I use instead of sage before and after I see a client for rune readings. It's the one I use to connect to Odin. It's also in my Odin baths. I have little sachets with that. My rituals before readings are quite involved. I have little sachets that I hang on my shower head before I go to my job to do the readings. Which it's not just Mugwort in there, but there's some of his other herbs as well. And I also have Cedar, which I use to connect to the ancestors. This is another one that is used for clearing, and a lot of these are used for clearing negative energies, but have different effects. Lavender is another one, although lavender and sage makes a really good combination. If you have lavender and sage together. I have a lavender wreath hanging on the front door of my house, but I wouldn't burn that. That was an expensive wreath. But I only use cedar when connecting to the ancestors. It's something someone on Instagram told me to try, and it has worked out really well. So, cedar for ancestor work. Pro tip. Alright, so you probably all know about that. And this is a chalice. I got this from Goodwill, by the way. Altar pieces do not have to be expensive. You can get really nice altar pieces super cheap. This was a buck. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to make turnips. Sorry, thirsty when I talk. Turnips is Greek holy water. You can also call it lustral water, or you can just call it holy water. I don't care. But you might get people thinking it's Catholic holy water, but it's turnips. Now, I use moon water to make it. You don't have to, but I prefer to use moon water. If you don't know how to make moon water, you would glass, preferable to plastic. You don't want you don't want the chemicals, what's it called, BPA. You don't want BPA and the chemicals seeping into this. This is supposed to be pure. I don't use tap water for this if possible. I have in a pinch, but I try to use spring water. I don't even drink. I drink tap water, which probably isn't good. But I have bottled water just for making moon water and turnips. So the night of the full moon, this is labeled full moon water Pisces. This is from last month, obviously. The night of the full moon, you leave this out all night, and it just at a window where it's going to hit the full moon, and it just soaks up the water. You can also put a crystal in here. This one is not the smoky quartz one, but I had a smoky quartz one in it all night, and it will absorb the energy of the full moon, the astrological sign of that moon, and the crystal. Be careful what crystal you put in it. Don't put selenite. Selenite will dissolve in water, so be careful there. Make sure you research it. Smoky quartz is fine. Pretty sure most quartzes are fine, but research your crystals before you put any crystals in water. So this one is just Pisces, not the smoky quartz Pisces. And I also, there's some controversy. Some people will not let them get sunlight. I get mine in the morning about around dawn. There's sunlight coming in right now, but with the rain, it's not a big deal. I store these in a dark place so that they get as little sunlight as possible. It's supposed to be moon water. It should get as little sunlight as possible. Some people will leave them up for days, but then it gets solar and lunar energy. I want it to just be as much lunar energy. It's so overcast right now that I don't care that the window's open, that there's a little bit of daylight technically, but like I said, there's a storm, so that doesn't really matter. But I always set my alarm so it's a little bit after dawn when I wake up and I get my water, and I can just put them in the cupboard where it's dark and then go back to bed if I don't have to actually get up. Alright, so now there's a few different ways that you can make turnips. Obviously, what I'm doing here is a little bit shortened because there might be, this would probably be at the beginning of a longer ritual, but I'm just literally making the water. And I'm not putting salt in it today, but a lot of times I will add Himalayan sea salt. I like the Himalayan sea salt because it's got a higher content of iron. And I have a lot of attraction to war gods for some reason, like Odin and Athena. A lot of people will say that will use the Himalayan sea salt for stuff like love because it's pink. I guess you can do that, but for me, it's always had a much harder energetic feel. And when I found out that it was the reason it's pink is because of the iron content, it makes sense to me to offer it to war gods because iron is what's in your blood. Iron is from rusted swords. I mean, that's just me. But I'm not adding salt today. Salt is always purifying, by the way. Every culture in the world believes that salt is purifying, because it is. And salt is used to preserve food. Before refrigeration, you salt that pork, baby. You salted everything. And that was two of the best ways to preserve food, was preserving it in honey, sweet, and preserve it in salt. Salty. Interesting, right? Alright. But the way we're going to do this is laurel leaf. You may have seen the writing, or a bay. It's the same thing, bay or laurel. And this is sacred to Apollo, the Greek god of purification, among many other things. But right now we're appealing to him in his aspect of god of purification, the one who helps you get rid of miasma, the god who helps you rid yourself of spiritual pollution. And so that's what we need to get rid of this, to help make this pure. And so just take a moment to center yourself, get yourself into a meditative, prayerful mindset. We appeal today to Apollo, god of purification, son of Zeus and Leto. Was this your sacred bay tree, Daphne, the leaves of Daphne, the nymph you love? Purify this water, that all that comes in contact with it will be so purified. Now, the actual words don't matter that much, but something like what I just said. Acknowledging the holiness of the laurel, acknowledging Apollo's role in purification. I'm sure that there are plenty of channels that are showing you how to do cleansings in a non-religious context. There's a lot of New Age channels, but this is a polytheist channel, so you're gonna get polytheist ways of doing things. If you want to strip the religion out of it and use them anyway, go ahead. But I'm going to be showing you the religious ways of doing it. And then if you wanted to purify something, a lot of times I might start a ritual by doing this. You're pure. You're pure. In the name of Apollo the Purifier, you are washed clean. Little sprinkles of water all around. And a lot of rituals. If it's just simple miasma you're getting rid of, the everyday pollution, just the stuff, the dirt and the grit that you pick up from living, just like you would take a shower to wash off the sweat from the day, this would be to wash off the miasma from the daily living. You would just wash your hands and your face before a ritual. Now we're getting into personal purification instead of house. It's supposed to be house, but it kind of goes into this. And so anyway, what I did with this was I did go around the house and sprinkle this around the house. So, back to the house purification. This is going to end up kind of covering both, I realize. Alright, so, let's see. Notes. Cleansing, sage, mugwort, turnips, holy water. Alright, besom. Now, my old house, this was just hanging up on the wall. I need to, it hasn't been hung up yet, but I need to hang it up. I love this. My broom. This is cast iron, too. Cast iron is supposed to burn the bad fairies, you know, the kind that you don't want. So, yeah, highly protective. Iron is highly, highly protective. I have another Goodwill find. I love Goodwill. And I picked the yellow flowers. I believe these are fake, obviously, but I picked yellow because I think I said before I have specifically been working on strengthening my solar plexus chakra for a long time. I've been wearing a lot of green for abundance and prosperity. I should do a video on color magic at some point. But yellow is the solar plexus chakra. Orange too, although orange is more sacral, but orange can also be because there is some variation within people. Like some people, their root chakra is usually red, but some people will get a brownish red, and that doesn't mean it's unhealthy, it's just a variation within people. So I picked yellow because I've been working on cheerfulness and boundaries, which is solar plexus. So, this would be for symbolically sweeping energy away. Now, literally cleaning your house will do wonders for getting rid of bad energy. But this, I would use for symbolically sweeping energy. This is terrible looking, but I was trying to make sure you could see it. Symbolically sweeping it out. And what you would want to do is sweep it out the front door. And that's actually something that's done during one of my favorite Dionysian festivals, Ancestral, which is in the spring. I am not going to get into that because that could be a whole nother video, which, you know, I probably will do a video on that once we get closer to that. Because that is my favorite Dionysian festival, and I didn't celebrate it last year. So, I will have to make a video on that. Alright. Warding. Fun one. House Wars. I need to recharge this because the link broke because it was at my old house. But what powered my house wards, this massive chunk of crystal. It's actually 2 crystals. There's a little bit of a story to this. I thought this was regular clear quartz. My roommate works in a crystal shop, and after he examined it, he thinks this is actually a super, 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 super pale rose quartz. So that's actually kind of cool. He said that's really appropriate because he thinks I have the purest heart of anyone he's ever known. That sounded like a brag when I said that, and it wasn't meant to be, but, yeah, this is supposedly rose quartz, and I thought it was clear quartz. And this is smoky quartz. But the cool story behind this is that I found these on a beach in California when I was 17. These are not even, I did not buy them. They were just found. When my family went on a road trip when I was 17, there was this beach we went to in California. There were no people, and the entire beach was just littered with giant rocks of quartz. And I loaded up. And these are the only ones I have left. Because I've moved too many times. These are the only ones I have left. Alright. So wards. How did I charge them? I do need to recharge them since the leak has been broken. I highly recommend this book. Spiritual Protection, a safety manual for energy workers, healers, and psychics by Sophie Reicher. I'm not sure how you say your last name. I breezed through this book in a few days. This book is amazing. This is mostly, personal healing and stuff, but really good for empaths too. This will probably come up again when I make the empath video. But it's got a lot of stuff about warding, and specifically how I warded my car and how I warded how I warded these crystals came from here. Basically, I set up an altar, and it was on a full moon because I wanted as much energy as I could. And it actually wore me out. I also did one for my brother too, for his house, and that one was harder because I couldn't see his house. And I had asked him to send me pictures. In the future, I don't think I'll be doing it for other people because it's much more difficult. People do your own wardings. That was very, very difficult to ward someone else's house. But this basically acts as a battery, like for a security system. And I laid my hands on it. Now you do not want to make the link to you. It will wear you out. You do put your energy into it, but you've got to make sure that you're basically telling the crystal what to do. You're programming the crystal. The crystal is where the energy comes from. The crystal does the job. And I prayed to my guides, I prayed to my angels, I prayed to I can already tell this is going to go over, this is going to be a 2-part video, but I'm not going to stop, because we're at 27 minutes already. I prayed to my gods. So pray to your gods, your angels, your guides, whatever. Do all the cleansings I've mentioned, whatever you need to do. Take a bath. An actual full spiritual bath. Be completely pure. Put music on if you need to. Meditate, because this is serious. I was living in the ghetto before I moved. Where I'm at now is a much safer place, so I'm much more secure now. But it was less ritual and more meditation, and it was feeling the energy around you and move through you and into the rock and then out again, and visualizing this huge white light. Like, I'm sure some of you have done the white light meditation, but over the whole house. But again, be careful that you're not anchoring it to yourself, because you are not the battery for this. You can make yourself sick if you're the battery. The wards need to run 24/7. So that is what the crystal is for. The crystal are the wards. I also anointed it with fiery oil of protection oil and uncrossing oil, which are both hoodoo oils. So those are good protection oils that you can use. So I'm trying to think what else I did, because honestly I was a little out of it, because it sometimes when you get into that ritual headspace, it can you just get in the flow and things just don't quite, once you come back down to earth, things don't go the way you just don't remember. I don't remember everything. I honestly don't. If you're going to ward your car, you don't need crystals. You might want to draw some symbols on it. But if you're going to ward your car, the engine itself is the battery. Every time you start it up, every time you start your car up, you envision that that light coming from the engine. That's all it is. Alright, another book that I recommend, A Mystic Guide to Cleansing and Clearing by David Salisbury. This entire book is about cleansing and clearing. This one is another one that is freaking awesome. Alright? And I mean, another one that I breezed through really, really quickly. And that's not to say that it's light. It's got a lot of amazing information. There's a lot of Santeria inspired stuff in here, like floor washes. But I was really shocked to see Hecate's Daphon mentioned in here, and the Numinia. I did not think that anything from Hellenic polytheism had gone mainstream in paganism. So, I mean, I was really happy to see something from one of my own Reconstructionist traditions in a quote-unquote mainstream pagan book. I mean, it's Llewellyn, I'm pretty sure. Nope, it's not. It's Moon Books. Never mind. It's still a mainstream pagan book. But I was still pretty shocked to see that, because I'm used to Reconstructionism being one of the niche within a niche within a niche things. So it was really cool to see that mentioned. Yay! So that's good. This one is a little more scholarly. It's written, it's got one of those annoying things that scholars do, where it says, of course, no one believes these things today anymore, in the introduction. So, I hate that. But, it's got a lot of really fascinating information. So, this one is called The Tradition of Household Spirits, Ancestral Lore and Practices by Claude it's French. By Claude Leucotrex. Don't ask me to speak French. I can't speak French. Okay. And I have not finished this one yet. It's one of the scholarly ones. It's a little harder to get through, but so much awesome information. Some of the practices could easily be adapted. And this is stuff that survived into the Middle Age era. So a lot of them have been Christianized practices, but you can see the pagan threads underneath. And so really fascinating stuff. Mostly Scandinavian and Northern Europe. A lot of Norway, German, mostly Northern European, mostly Middle Ages, but you can see all the pagan threads underneath. Really fascinating, really good stuff. Well, I guess if I end it right here, then the video won't go too long. And I really would like to talk about household cultists, but that could be in another video. So I guess I'm going to sign off here. Thank you for your time. Like, share, comment. Tell me what you liked and what you didn't like, what you'd be interested in seeing more of. I really do enjoy talking to you guys. I know I don't have that many subscribers right now, but please share. I really